So, hi everybody. I'm Jennifer Norris Hale with Mission Motherhood, and I am super excited today to have Donna Wray with us. She's a board member for the Mom of an Addict, and the reason that this whole kind of conversation got started is we want to share stories and break the stigma surrounding substance use and addiction. And if one person can be helped by another person's story, like that's why we share our stories. And part of this, and I was just sharing with Donna, is that it is hard to reshare our stories of struggle or trauma, and which makes it even more important that we listen to what Donna has to say and honor your daughter's life and story as well. So, thank you for coming to share today.
You
We got
for
it.
asking me.
We made it. So why don't you share a little bit more about like your family, and you can kind of go from
Okay.
there.
All right, great. Well, as you know, my name is Donna Wray. Um, I am a mother of four children. Um, I have three daughters and my son. Um, we live in Fort Wayne. Um, have lived here all the children's lives anyway. Very normal life. Kids growing up did the normal things. Went to schools, cheerleading, soccer, dance. Um, and my daughter Emily, who we're talking about this evening, from the time she was about 3 years old, she really was interested in dance. Her older sister would go to dance class and she'd put on a tutu and carry her bag because she wanted to go too. So we put her in early. I mean, she was probably four, maybe, or so. And she really thrived in that environment. She loved dancing. She loved the arts. And so when she graduated from high school, basically, she earned a scholarship at a jazz company in Chicago. So she went from high school um, to Chicago to dance with, it was Gus Giordano there. And she started, she also went to college for about a year. Um, but she was dancing, it was pretty rigorous. So she ended up stopping her classes at college and focused full time on her dance, and danced there for about 3 years. So, our family as a whole, we were really proud of her. And those achievements. Like we're a very close knit family, so the sisters, they get along. They fight, they obviously, like all siblings, but very close relationship. She had an extremely close relationship with her brother too. He was about, let's see, not quite 10 years younger than she was. So when he was born, she was almost like a little mother to him. So they had a very, very close relationship. So she started dancing and it was fun to watch her. She really, had a lot of talent. But during that time period, the rehearsals were strenuous. And she told me, she said that she would take like pain medicine or whatever to help when she'd get done with rehearsals. Um, so that was the first inkling, I guess. I didn't really think it was a problem. I guess I just wasn't aware
Mhm.
of it. And I thought, well, maybe that's, that world, it's a little different. So anyway, she started doing that. I think, too, while she was there, possibly cocaine, um, as kind of a stimulant. It kept you thin, kept you going. Didn't really realize that either. I think sometimes we see signs and we just don't always catch them.
Mhm.
And so anyway, life was still good, and we'd go up to watch her dance, and it was very exciting, and I was very proud of her. And then one of her sisters was with her for a weekend, and called me and said, "Mom, I think Emily was using cocaine." And I said, "No, she wouldn't do that," or "You didn't really see that." I just kind of made excuses. And I just thought, "Oh, no, she was just imagining it, or it wasn't any big deal." And so that's kind of where it stood. I mean, we just went on, normal life. Um, she left Chicago after about 3 years, I think it was. I went to LA
Okay.
and danced there. And same thing, kind of. She would call me occasionally and want money.
Mm.
Could you wire money to me? And again, I didn't think that much about it because um, I just thought, oh, she's away and she needs help, and her jobs were unsteady. She'd go from one thing to another. So then she, after a couple years in LA, maybe three or so, she came back to Chicago again. This time, my younger daughter was there going to school at DePaul. And so she and Emily lived together. And during that time where they lived together, things got kind of bad, I guess, if you will. Um, and finally, her sister called us and said, "Mom, this is bad. She's stealing from us. She's doing these things that, weird things. She's disappearing, and you've got to come and get her."
Mm.
And so we eventually did. And that was a hard time for our family
Mhm.
because she and her younger sister were very close as well. But at the same time, her younger sister got very angry with her to the point. Not She didn't hate her, but she was just very, very unhappy with her and didn't really want to have a relationship with her. And so we brought her home. We realized at that point too that she definitely had a problem. We had found some like syringes and things like that. And so she went through a program. It wasn't a rehab necessarily at the time. Here again, and I like to talk about this too. I don't want to wander off, so bring me back if I am. But you do the best you can do with the knowledge that you have. I wished I had known some of the things I know now then, but I didn't. So I wasn't really clear what rehab meant or what it was. So she was going to a group through a hospital, and then she also went to a methadone clinic, and she was on methadone. And so while she was doing that, um, she lived a pretty normal life. Things were pretty good, actually. She had a job. She lived here at home, which now I treasure that time that she was here. I said, God does things in mysterious ways, or ways we don't always understand. And He put her here with me for 10 years, and it was wonderful.
Mm.
We did a lot together. We spent a lot of time together. Um, and so I truly treasure that time. I mean, she did well, or I thought she was doing well. And that lasted for about 10 years. Also, the family thought she was doing well too, and the relationships, kind of got back together, and a lot of fun times with her siblings. And then a couple years, or a year maybe before she passed away, we noticed she was drinking.
Mm.
And, you know, she eventually, I'm not sure what the story was, what she told me and what actually happened. I'm not sure, but she stopped going to the clinic. So she stopped getting the methadone. And I'm going to tell you, it was a very quick, out of control spiral.
Mhm.
She went back to street drugs at
Wow.
that point. She was still living here at home. She was still my Emily. She
Mm.
was still sweet. She was still, I knew we had a problem. And um, frustration, because I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
I didn't know how to get her to come around. She was, at the time, she was 32, 31 years old. So I mean, I couldn't have her, put into a treatment program. I could have, but she could have left, right away. And so I was really at my wit's end. I hid it from definitely from friends, and the family, I sugarcoated it. I think everybody kind of knew there was a problem, but we just didn't talk about it. And sometimes when we would get together, the sibling, they'd fight or they'd ask her and she'd get defensive. And, so the problem was definitely there, but we just kind of walked on eggshells about it. When she finally started to just get out of control, I called my oldest daughter actually first, and I said, I need help. I don't know what to do. And so she's married. They live in Indianapolis, and they found an intervention coordinator, whatever. And so we decided to go that route. So we had an intervention with her in November. And we had a facility that was set up for her to go to in Lexington, Kentucky. All of her siblings, brothers-in-laws, everyone was here, grandma, everybody. And we all said our piece. And when we were finished, she just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And there was a lot of crying and a lot of pleading and a lot of please, don't, her one sister, I remember her saying, please don't do this. And her brother tried to talk to her, and it wasn't an anger. It was just, she just said no, she just didn't want to. And so we asked her to leave. It was one of the hardest things I ever did in my life. Yeah. So she left. There was about a week and a half time period where I really didn't hear from her. I got one text from her that wasn't particularly nice. And some of it was about her dog. She had left her dog here. But then after that, I started to hear from her more frequently. Good text. It was like her old self kind of. And I saw her. One night we were together, and I said, Emily, are you ready? Are you ready to do it? We're going to help you, and we love you. And she said, Mom, you don't understand. She said, I know how to handle this. You just don't understand. And I really think that was her thought process, that she thought she had control over it. And that's the wicked part of the disease. The disease tells you that you don't have a disease. And everything is fine. And I think that's how she looked at it. But we definitely, and I'm so thankful for that too, we had our relationship, and I talked to her a lot. And I saw her as much as I could. And so that, like I said, that was good. Always fearful of getting a phone call, the call you don't want to get. And on January 21st, I got that phone call. So we made it to the hospital before she passed. And there again, very thankful for that, because I was with her. I said I was with her when she came into the world, and I was with her when she left. So, and that's, for a mother, you can't, what else can you ask for, right? You don't want to be here when they, it's not the right order. But anyway, so I think after that, and the whole family, there's just a period of time where you kind of are just numb, and you can't. None of us thought that would happen. We really didn't. We thought that it would, that we would eventually get her into rehab. I'm going to talk about faith. I hope that's all right. The one thing that from the very moment that she passed, while I was still with her, I said I had an incredible feeling of it was just strange. It was like almost like a peace. And as time progressed a little bit, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I always felt like I had prayed about her and her situation. And I wanted an answer. I wanted her to get well. I wanted her to do that. And I thought God answered my prayer, just not the way I wanted it to be.
Mhm.
But He knew way more than I did about maybe her situation or our situation. And He made the choice that was right for her and right for our family. And I go with that.
Mhm.
That's what I believe. And so I trust that decision. And I think about things that could have been far worse, like she could have maybe never recovered and been in a hospital or been paralyzed or she could have been someplace and died and I wouldn't have been with her. I mean, so many things. And I just feel like God thought that her road was just getting too tough
Mhm.
and He just decided that it was time.
Mhm.
And I think our whole family kind of felt that way. Now, mind you, doesn't make it any easier, doesn't make me any less sad, but it makes me understand it. And I always say they say, "How are you doing?" And I say, "I'm okay." And I mean that because it's okay. It's okay. I understand it. So then I think the other thing was after she passed, you have a couple choices, and one choice is to curl up in a corner and not do anything and just forget it. The other choice is you look, and I mentioned this to Jennifer when we talked before. I love the verse, out of the ashes comes beauty. So out of
Mhm.
the most devastating time in my life, I first of all, I we when she passed, at first I thought we should just do something private because she was really a private person. And my one daughter, my younger daughter, said, "Mom, you can't do that. You've got to tell people about this."
Mhm.
And I thought, she's right. I do. What we talked about a minute ago, the stigma. I thought we've got to start talking about this. Emily was a beautiful child. She was a beautiful person. She was talented and she was intelligent. And people need to see that people who have substance abuse disorder are great, wonderful individuals with a disease that they can't control, that's taken over, hijacked their brain, whatever. And we need to talk about it. Last year, I think around 81,000 people overdosed in the United States in 2020 or 20. Yeah. So, and it'll probably be a little bit more this year because of the COVID and isolation. And so 81,000. And then you add the family members involved in that, and you think of the number of people that are affected by this. We have to talk about it, and we didn't do anything wrong, and neither did they. I
Mhm.
mean, they might have made a choice at one point in time to use a substance, but I'm sure, I don't think Emily had any idea, what that road was going to take her down. And probably most don't. Um,
Mhm.
so after my daughter said that, I thought, yeah, we've got to. So we also set up a GoFundMe and decided with the memorials and the gifts that we received, we set up a scholarship fund, and it's the Emily Ray Scholarship Fund. And it's being used right now with a counseling service, Cross Connections in Fort Wayne. And they help high school individuals who may be starting down this path.
Mhm.
And right now, her scholarship is helping uh,
Wow.
four students in high school that were, before it was kind of like if you are caught using drugs, we're going to expel you. And
Mhm.
now it's if you are tested and you're positive, we are going to refer you to
Mhm.
to this counseling service. And Emily's fund is helping to pay for that. So I'm so excited about that. I thought, Em, you're doing it. You're helping people now. You're doing something. And then the other thing that we did, and you wanted me, we talked about this a little bit earlier too, is through a mutual friend, I met this wonderful woman, and her name was Jen Hope, and she had this idea about starting a group to help families that have gone through exactly what we had gone through, the up and down, the trauma of knowing that your child is using a substance but you can't stop it, and I mean the not so pleasant things that go along with that, the stealing, the being arrested, and all the things that you just you cry inside for when it's your child.
Mhm.
And so she had this idea that we would be a support group for the families, for mothers, for brothers and sisters, for grandparents, for dads, whoever. Um, and so she asked me if I would be on her board,
Yeah.
and I was delighted to do that. We had our first, there were 6 of us, I think, on the board then. We had our first meeting that following June. So this would have been passed in January of 2019. So this would have been in June, like of 2019. And at our first meeting, we had 60 some people attend.
Wow.
So that told us right there, hey, there's a need in our community for this. People just want to feel like they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the stories sometimes are remarkably scary, similar. The players are different, but I mean the things that we've all gone through, that we've all seen, that we've all experienced, and being able to share that. We don't offer, counseling. We don't, um, support one kind of rehab or resource over another. We're just there, and we're there to share our stories, things that we did that helped us, just being there.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, right now, we have 3 mothers that have lost children, and they come faithfully to the meetings every week. And for me, we start our meetings with a lesson, and then we have a sharing time. The lessons have been so incredibly helpful, learning about what different drugs actually do to the brain, learning about what it's like to be in withdrawal, learning about enabling your child, and how to set healthy boundaries, and do what is actually going to be beneficial. I wished I would have known those things. Like I said, I don't I don't feel guilty. I won't let myself do that. But I think, the more information that you can have,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so even though it doesn't change my situation, I feel like our group is going to, help other people. They're going to know these things.
Yeah.
They're going to know maybe that giving them money isn't the best thing to do, or letting them stay at home maybe isn't the way that you want to go. And so um, I'm going to say it again. Out of the ashes came beauty. There are just so many things, so many positive things I see, and I know Emily's hands at work. And I think, this is what being able to talk to you and your group, and share, that you can use your experiences, I guess, to help others.
Yeah.
I also teach school, and I use every opportunity I can. I've been very honest with them. I've told them that my daughter died of a drug overdose.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were actually there at the time, um, and I tell them, how I feel, and how I've gotten through it, and things that have happened, and how you can use your faith to get through bad situations. So I feel like I can take what I've learned, and I can help, share that,
Yeah.
um, and have other people hear it, that, there's ways, I guess. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I ramble on?
No, I think no, I just there's I well, I love hearing you talk, and I know we spoke before too, but just the sincerity of everything. I mean, like you said, one thing that kind of brings you peace with all of this is that there was a purpose or a greater reason. And I think
Mhm.
just all of the things that she's doing now, like her legacy is greater than what she could have even maybe,
Done
done.
here. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what a beautiful tribute, to honor her, because um, she was a talented girl and a daughter and a friend, and um, even going back to the funeral, having it so that other people could kind of find closure and
Mhm.
honor her life, and not how she passed but how she lived. um, I just think that's really important. And I'm gonna, like, I tried to like pinpoint things as you were so I'm gonna like say like multiple different thoughts.
Mhm.
But one of the things too that you had mentioned, and I always think about this, but Mary Claire Akers from the Drug and Alcohol Consortium, um, she says, and um, no one ever wakes up and wants to be an addict. Like, no
Mhm.
one ever has that thought. Like, today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have a drug problem and
Mhm.
or start an addiction. And it's just something that we need to understand. And the reason, and I'm so glad to have this conversation, is that even as you're going through this as a mom, there was stigma to reach out to friends or to family and ask for help. And so having the mom of an addict just be out there, like out in the open, we're here
Mhm.
for you. Um, and we know what you're going through, and we're here to help support you. That I'm like, I can't imagine the countless families that are being helped just because of that, because they don't feel comfortable going towards their friends, or they don't know how to tell their family that they've had their limit with their daughter or their son or
Right.
their husband or their wife. Um,
Right.
um, this could be anybody's story. It really could be. It's
Absolutely. And that's what I said. I feel so strongly about the whole stigma. The,
Mhm.
it that has to go away. You mentioned the funeral. We had probably close to 200 people come,
Wow.
and out of that group, and I had people that I'd known for a very long time
Mhm.
um, come up to me and say, my brother was an alcoholic. My cousin used heroin. I mean, all of a sudden, when you give people an opportunity to talk and they don't feel embarrassed by it, or and you're saying, hey, this is the situation that we've faced, and they want to talk about it, and you realize how many people's lives are actually affected
Mhm.
by drugs or alcohol.
Yeah,
So we've
absolutely.
got to talk about it.
Well, that's why, I so appreciate you coming out here electronic.
Coming on here.
And just sharing the story. And I love what the mom of an addict does. Just to, with mental health and with addiction, we need to kind of all come together and just say there's help and there's hope and there's people who understand and they want to help. And I mean, I personally struggle with anxiety, and some days are worse than others, and some days I'm like, should I even text somebody? Like,
Mhm.
it's hard, and I'm somebody who's very like open about, but the struggle's real. So when you have when you're, you know, just try and know that there's people out there who want to help and kind of find
Absolutely.
that support. I guess one last thing, for mothers who may be in your situation, and you probably get asked this all, maybe you get asked this all the time. I don't know. But what would be some advice to you know a mom who might be in your situation, um, you know, with their daughter who may be struggling, maybe not.
I think, the first thing you've got to understand, and I didn't understand this. I always thought if Emily were here with me and I was watching over her, I could take care of it. I could fix it. And I think that's a huge realization. You can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also the frustrating part, as a mother, as a parent, you're so used to doing that, and then it's like your hands are tied. You really cannot fix it. You can't force them into something. I mean, it has to be a decision that they make. So, um, I guess in saying that, you have to tell them that you love them and you support them and you think they can make good decisions and you believe in them, um, and just let them know that you're there, I think. But that final decision is going to have to be theirs. And if something does happen, as like in my situation, then you have to say, again, I couldn't fix it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that I caused.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a disease. It's a problem. Some people, I guess, are more susceptible than others, or maybe have a genetic predisposition to something. but I mean, it's you can't fix it. So I always felt, and I still I told you I talked to a counselor, and he every once in a while I'll get started about oh gee, if I would have done this, if I could have done this, I should. And he goes, man, you're really going to that could have, should have, would have machine. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change it. You can't replay it as, even though you will.
Mhm.
Um, but you can't, because you did the best you could do in the situation. We love our children and we want to do the best
Yeah.
for them. So I guess, like I said, I would just say, realize you can't fix it. So the only thing you can do is let them know how much they're loved and cared for, and that you will support them when
Mhm.
they make that decision to
Mhm.
go to rehab or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That you're there for them. They have to take that first step themselves, I think. So
Yeah, that's really, I mean, as parents, you just want to stop. I mean, my
oh yeah.
oldest is 10, so, you're still in that mode of fixing everything and doing everything for him, and I don't think that ever really stops.
No, it doesn't. Even when they're older, and they get a cold or get sick, and you're always like, "Oh, well, here, do this, take that." I mean, and then you run across this where it's like, I can't protect them.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah,
No matter what I do. Like I said, she was living here with me, and I was watching her, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
had it under control. Well, I didn't. So
And how did your family all kind of cope or come together through this?
I
Like,
think we talk. I think that's a huge factor too. We talk about Emily. We celebrate her. Can I tell my birthday story? I think it, because we decided, the first year that she was gone, I was dreading her birthday. I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do, and what a day, and how am I going to handle it, and do I want to just stay home or whatever. My one daughter and son live in Chicago, and she called me and she said, "Mom, here," and Emily always loved to be there, obviously, and she said, "Mom, I think this is what we should do." When we went out for dinner, Emily always ordered more food than she could eat, and she would almost immediately ask for a takeout home box before she even ever like ate it. And then she would always change the ingredients somehow. If it didn't have this, she'd want them to add that. And so she'd go through this whole routine. So my daughter said, "I think we need to go out for dinner." And my son said, "Yes, we're going to order more food than we can eat. And then we're going to change one of the orders." And so, sure enough, that's exactly what we did. We went out as a family. We ordered an extra entree. We asked them to add arugula and take off something else, and switched it. And then when we got the food, we raised our glasses and toasted her. And
oh,
it was fun. It was, I mean, it was a happy moment. And I think, we've been lucky enough that we do things like that. I When we had to, not had to, but it came time to change her room.
mhm.
We did it. I have a grandchild, and so we made it. My one daughter said, "Let's make this a room for her, and it'll be her Aunt Emily giving her that
Mhm.
room." And so we did it that way. And when we got it all changed, they did it while I was gone. And then I came, and we all went up there, and my son was up there, and my two daughters, my daughter or my son-in-laws, and a couple of my friends, and we were laughing and talking. And my son said to me, he said, "The last two times I've been in this room, I've cried my eyes out." And
Mhm.
it was the first time that the room was alive again. And I said, I could just see her sitting up there watching, thinking, "Yes, this is what you guys should be doing, not crying." you
Mhm.
know and so I think all those things,
Yeah.
they help us. But we are not afraid to talk about her, and we're not afraid to celebrate those milestones. And we're not it's not that you're forgetting her or you're pushing, and not in the least. She's in every one of those things. She's um, there with us. So I think that's been helpful. The other thing that has been incredibly helpful for me is I have three of the most wonderful friends.
Mhm.
I call them my angels, because I mean, they've just been there for me. on Emily's eternal birthday, they sent me flowers and I mean, it's just, they're just always there. And I know they are. And so that's been the other thing I think that's helped. And they too know the kids. So they've helped the kids too. So, but I just think talking about it and not trying to pretend it didn't happen and we all loved Emily. Like I said, we knew she had a problem, but she was great and we miss her terribly. And so we carry her with us in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, those are such beautiful, like little moments. Honestly, it's really sweet. And trying to find those, in every day and how she comes to you and each one of you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's really sweet. I don't know if um, when I first talked to Jen, we had one of these conversations, and I was talking. It was on. I had a friend who passed from an overdose, and it was on his birthday. I wanted to kind of like talk about addiction on his birthday, and I'd
Uh-huh.
always been like, where's my sign? Where's my sign? Like you're just
Uh-huh.
waiting for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Mhm.
Jen was like, she's like, "Do you see this giant rainbow outside?" And I'm like, "What are you?" I'm like, I didn't, in total, like my fashion, I'm oblivious to everything.
Uh-huh.
Like, do you see that rainbow? I'm like, I don't know, but let's keep talking, And then it like hit me like almost immediately, like outside, after we finished our conversation, it was a double rainbow, and like I knew like that was totally, that was the sign that I
Yeah.
needed. Like his
Mhm,
dad, like my friend's dad was watching. Like we all knew that that was totally Brad,
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah.
making his presence known.
Known, uh-huh.
But those are, like those are just special moments. So I appreciate you sharing those, and I love how your family, comes together and just shares shares them, um, and helps each other.
Yeah,
So.
I think we have, so
Well, I so appreciate your time.
you're very welcome.
Per usual. I don't know what I don't know where I was going with that. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, just I appreciate your time. And the mom of an addict, I'll put like links to your website and Facebook and that sort of thing. And if people want to learn more, they can. And we'll be doing
Absolutely.
this once a month, sharing stories and talking. So
Yeah,
thank you so much, Donna. I
you're
really,
very welcome. Thank you for asking me. I'm glad I got to share, and I hope that my message helps.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
All right. Have a good night.
you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.